The Retro Buzz starts right after this.
Hey guys, it's time for another edition of the Retro Buzz, and we're joined by. We've got my son here. He's shaking his head no. We've got Daniel. He's all excited. He's all Ghostbustered up. He's ready to go. We also have. He knows how to make an entrance. He was on FaceTime with Kathleen Kennedy, setting up a date for next week. So I'll get into that in a little bit. But we've got Glenn Planamento. What is going on with your shirt?
I have begun my.
Is that so you know if your audio is working?
It's my heart. It's my heart pacemaker. Make sure it's still
being
going.
assimilated.
It looks like
I talked to Kathleen Kennedy, and she slapped this thing on me to make sure she could control my actions, I suppose.
All right. Well, anyway, so we've got Mr. Planamento. We've also got Douglas Smith, Mr. Cool Toy himself, who is a bad influence on myself and my son because we've been buying all these toys since Doug's been doing these videos on the.
What? I love his videos. I have
there
to
you go.
subscribe. Who doesn't?
Your collection and your shelves will thank you.
Well, yeah, but
I think by
Mostly
episode 70, it'll be the divorce episode.
Well, I was just gonna say I don't know if my wife's gonna be too thrilled with that. My son's happy.
Thank you, Doug, for showing me all those ideas.
We also we're privileged to join. We've got Mr. Restalgia himself, Stephen. Now I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Cabrosi.
It's pretty close. Nobody ever knows how to pronounce that last name.
I'll take close. But we got Mr.
I was gonna say Quiznos. It wasn't Stephen Quiznos.
Quiznos.
I've heard that one before. Yeah. It's Kubrosi.
Kubrosi. Okay.
That's close.
Well, I was close. I was pretty. I'll take it. I'll take it. Well, it's great to have you here, and we've got a nice round table here that I think we're gonna be able to do some fun, have some fun here. But before we get going, I mentioned a little bit ago that next week, Glenn's being Glenn. So next week he has a date with Kathleen Kennedy. He doesn't know that I was going to tell you guys this, but he says, "Can we move the show to 9:00? Because I'm going out on a date with Kathleen Kennedy to try and schmooze her into allowing the new Star Wars to be under his guidance and direction." Okay.
You know what? Look, I've always said this from the beginning. I'm here for the community, and if I got to take one for the Kathleen Kennedy team, I'm going to do it.
Somehow, Doug and I were discussing this before you got on. Somehow, I think that you're secretly going to enjoy this.
No. No. Not in the least. I may go in a man, but I may come out a mangina. So I don't know. I got to be very careful.
Well,
Glenn, I mean, if we need to push the show farther back, to give you even more time with the lovely lady, just let us know.
Yeah, just let us know.
Accommodated.
Yeah.
Well, I have a funny feeling. One of my co-hosts actually set this up because she contacted me. So I'm kind of wondering if Doug is doing another Negan on me. We're going to end up in a Kathleen Kennedy jail somewhere.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to say the least. Steve, what's your take on all this? Do you think he's telling the truth here?
I don't know. I wouldn't put it past him. I think I'm going to take him for his word on this one. We'll see. Well, I guess we'll find out soon enough, right? So
yeah. So next week, guys, the show will be still on Friday, but it'll be 9:00. But we do have a special guest, assuming Glenn doesn't scare him off. And Glenn, why don't you tell us who that guest is going to be? Because I think people will like it.
Yeah. I'm doing another one of my getting a little too giddy for this particular guest. It's R.J. Mitchell, and he is one of the designers of the Amiga computer line. Also was very influential on the Atari Lynx, as well as the 3DO. He's an engineer, and I'm very excited. I'm a huge Amiga fan. I'm a huge Atari fan with the Lynx, and I'm absolutely a 3DO fan. So to have him on is, again, I'm going to be like a kid in a candy store, like pre-Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars, basically like that.
Okay. Well, that'll be interesting. So Dr. Zohar in the chat room has given us a super chat for just supporting the channel because you guys are awesome. Hi and bye. So somehow he was here, he made it 6 minutes, and now he's out. Peace
Might
out.
be my fault. Sorry, guys. You guys picked the wrong guest.
I think he got epileptic seizures from Glenn's shirt.
True.
But let's.
Yeah, we should have had one of those, like, flashed warnings at the beginning of the show that says, right, flashing lights and sounds may cause issues with epilepsy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into this. So this week there's been some really cool stuff that's come out here. Normally we don't really talk a ton about news unless something comes up. But one of the things that I do want to talk about is iiRcade, because I know, Steve, you've also been paying close attention to this. Doug is already on the Kickstarter campaign. Glenn is not anywhere near that, and neither am I. And I think
I'm on the fence.
We're on the fence. Now, my son, he would be like, Dad, just buy it, right? Just buy the arcade. So Zhang would have a field day with him. He'd be like, oh, do this and your dad will buy it. I have some reservations about this, and I wanted to kind of throw it around. I don't think this thing is worth $500 from what I've seen already. And I think they've announced, like 20 games so far, maybe 30. And to me, it's a glorified bar top that is overpriced. Now, maybe $300 for the top and the bottom. And maybe I'm just being impartial because I haven't had my hands on it. Doug, you've had your hands on it. Do you really think at a $500 price tag, as what we know now and what you've learned, we'll start with you. Do you think it's worth that price for people?
I think $500 is extremely hard sell. I think in this current economic market and with the other arcade options out there available, I don't think you're going to get many people biting at $500. I think $300 is competitive. I think, you get some people that will look at it. $300 is kind of the going rate for a standard bar top arcade as it is. So I think that's in line with that. But $500 with, the AtGames arcade cabinet out there around that price point, and then some of these super intricate, very nice bells and whistles included arcade one-up cabinets for the same price with first-party titles, it's very hard to compete.
What about you, Steve? Did you jump on the pre-order bandwagon?
I have not pre-ordered it. I didn't actually take part in that at all. I'm kind of waiting to see what's coming of it because the Kickstarter price point is reasonable. $299 I think is a fair price. Now that is just the bar top, doesn't give you the stand or anything. But I kind of want to see what's going to happen with those games. I think that the value that they're going to provide is not in the hardware; it's going to be in the software. So
the experience.
You could say that for sure.
Glenn,
that's fair.
What's your overall should people be paying attention to this? Because I'm kind of, Zhang's a great guy. Let's just throw that out there right now. Zhang is a really nice guy, and I want to support him just because of that. But I don't want to support him $300 worth or even $500 worth. What's your take?
Well, I think we're all in agreement that the $500 price point for the bar top part of it was overpriced. Again, I have not seen it. The only person out of us here on the panel is Doug, who's actually got his hands on it. And if the joysticks and buttons are high quality, if the screen's high quality, he obviously has always been touting the speaker system as being very high quality. At that price point, at the Kickstarter $300 for the machine, I think that's actually reasonable, because if you look at the arcade one-ups they had there, their countertops, they were going for $200, and they were much smaller. This got a 19-inch monitor. So I don't think that's bad. But like with anything, I mean, this has driven the video game industry from the beginning. It's not about how good your hardware is. It's not how good your controllers are. It's the applications. It's the software that sells it. You can have the best product out there, hardware spec-wise. If you don't have the software titles to back it up, no one's going to buy it. No one's going to care. And the software release so far has not been spectacular. But let's think about this for a second. When AtGames which I think we all agree right now really turned a lot of heads today now. But remember when they first started launching with the software titles, it was very sparse, and we're all like, what about the games? That's all you're showing. That's all you're showing. So it's not too different from that. So let's just remember that when AtGames was first coming out with their software lists, it was quite barren and small. There was some Atari releases. So I'm leaving it open for this whole thing because I do think that they have the best of intentions. They're gamers.
Mm-hmm.
But as of right now, just from the look of the machine, from the software release, I'm just not excited. And you all know I am not Mr. Pre-Order to begin with. I'm always Mr. At the very end. I swoop in and I do or I don't. But I am going to say right now for $299 for the hardware, I do not think it's unreasonable. I think that's pretty good. But nothing on the software side is really called out to me saying, Glenn, man, you got to pre-order this to get this thing. It's not there for me yet.
Well, and that's the thing is, and I agree with $299. You know, I would do it. I'm just not a fan of Kickstarter. I'm sorry. I've been burned too many times on Kickstarter.
Now. Hold on now.
You're probably the
but
wait, Glenn, you're I mean, let's just be fair. You're one of the guys that you know is solid. You know what I'm saying? Like there are people out there. I pre-ordered something from a Kickstarter that I got right before I moved, and it was 3 years ago that I got on the Kickstarter. I don't know if you guys
back decals for your Marble Madness?
No, that was a different Kickstarter.
Your Atari VCS?
No, this was a mouse. It's a attachment that you hook up to the computer. Back when I was doing a lot of tech stuff, you could actually do the whole. I forget what it's Minority Report. I guess that was the name of the movie with where he takes his hands and he'll take things on the screen and move it. Yeah. Well, this was supposed to mimic that. It would take your hand movements and work as a mouse on the screen, and it was $200. And so I have it. And they put out the Kickstarter. It took 3 years to get it, and then it died 3 months later. Like they wouldn't, no firmware updates, no nothing. I mean, just dead. Like not. It still works, but they're not doing anything with it. So I've kind of been like, $300. You put it on your website for $299 after it comes out. Get rid of the $500 price tag. I'm down with that. I think Steve, you said that in pre-show too. That was something you'd be in all in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I struggle because when I look at a lot of the other Kickstarters that are out, when you're talking about gaming, a lot of them are pretty volatile. And when you're talking about gaming Kickstarters in general, Glenn, obviously you're the exception to the rule. A lot of them fall flat. A lot of games that developers put up on Kickstarter and they try to get funding, they don't end up completely completing or actually making it to market. And I think that Kickstarter in general within the gaming community might not have the strongest reputation. So I would actually prefer if they just did pre-orders. If they're looking for advanced funding, just do the pre-order, take the cash from the customer, and then just ditch the whole Kickstarter. I mean, Kickstarter takes a commission too. Why would you funnel cash over to Kickstarter when you could just take the payment up front?
Now, I didn't even look to check. Did you guys? Is it an all for nothing? Is it either it's completely funded or they refund you money? I didn't see if that's how they did it.
I haven't heard them
didn't
to
check
that at all.
Yeah,
I would assume not. Just because
that's when you worry.
Taking this out and showing it around, like to me, they act like this is happening regardless, and the Kickstarter is just a way to cut the price down if you don't want to pay that retail price when they start selling it in stores, according to what they've alluded to.
Yeah, maybe somebody could find that out real quick. Go into it and see if that's the case, because I think that would help a lot of people in determining.
I do as well, because there's a little comfort factor there. I mean, iiRcade does not currently have any products out there, right?
Right.
So that's where people get a little scared about it. I mean, if they had previous products, people would know it's a company that's been around, they'll get it. But even when I did my Kickstarter, it was an all for nothing. You know, if you didn't fully fund, we weren't going to take a dime. And, you know, there's definitely ones that go the other way. I've seen a lot of people like you, Stephen, you know, lost money.
Yeah.
They had a Kickstarter, it went, but the money was just, well, that was it. You know, we got the money, we didn't come out with the product, sorry, and that's that. And I'm not a fan of that at all. But if anyone can find that out, I think that'd be kind of good to know.
No, I agree with that. I think we need to know that stuff. But I mean, for iiRcade, I mean, we're gonna have to continue watching it, because I that's something I didn't think about, Glenn, is exactly what you said about AtGames. You know, we were really quick to attack them with pitchforks and go up the the proverbial castle, if you will, and basically burn them at the stake. But really, they've proven. In fact, speaking of AtGames, brand new feature came out this week, Addon X, which a lot of us want to use massive amounts of ROMs on our AtGames Legends Ultimate, and they came out with I guess this is the biggest feature. And Steven, I'm going to toss it over to you because you usually do a lot of great tutorials for these things and you put them out. Why is this so significant for those that are watching that maybe they're gun shy about upgrading their cabinet? I've been playing with it. I played with it with the beta. Why is this so significant for folks? You're muted, bud.
Speechless.
Yeah, he's speechless.
Am I good?
There you go.
Can you guys
There
hear
you
me now?
go.
Okay, cool. So I think the idea with this add-on is that users don't have to fumble with 3, 4, 5 different USB sticks in order to play a large collection of games. That being said, this feature isn't without its problems. As I mentioned in my video, a lot of the ports that I covered on my channel are no longer functioning. Now that seems to not be related to Addon X. It's more so with a security release for their firmware, but those ports still don't get recognized by Addon X in the first place. So I think that the feature itself has really good potential in the sense that people can actually really do a proper build on a single USB drive. You get instant load times, compatibility is better, security is a little bit better on it as well. But like I said, it goes hand in hand with a couple flaws as well. And I think one of the ones that some people weren't a huge fan of was that you have to have your cabinet connected to your ArcadeNet account. And if you want to play offline, you can only do that 5 times before you can't access that feature anymore.
Yeah, I don't get that. I really don't get that part at all. If you were able to load these, side load it before and use them, I don't get that, and I don't like it. I honestly wasn't going to upgrade the firmware at all, but I wanted to try it out. But I don't understand what the reasoning is behind that. It's almost like a Big Brother now. After they built up the user base, now Big Brother's coming in to look at your console. So not a fan of that at all. Hopefully that'll come out.
I'm wondering though, Doug, do you know of any reason why they're doing that? I know you're doing a lot with the Legends or Academy, if you will. Is there anything that's been said to you as to why they're going that direction?
Yeah, 5 is the number of times somebody can ask you a question before you get annoyed and smack somebody.
5 good reasons, right, Doug? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No, I mean, I asked them kind of like, the selling points of Addon X and, the highlights. And to me, it's explained this is kind of a lock and key for future opportunities down the road. Now, as to why it's calling home 5 times and only 5 times, I can only assume it's some sort of design security. I hesitate to call it a flaw because to them it's probably not a flaw, but to us it's a flaw because it just doesn't make sense from a gaming aspect. But I'm sure it has a reason, but I haven't been vocalized what the actual details for that number of 5 is.
I know there's a lot of people that I think even on P-Dubs posting his video, and people were like, why do I have to sign in on this? Why do I, that's one of the features on this cabinet, so you can play with each other. Like, I get it. You don't want people spying on you. But let me just approach this from a tech standpoint as a guy that's pretty heavy into tech. If you have one of these, your privacy is gone. It doesn't matter what other devices that you have.
If you're on the internet right now, your privacy is gone.
Honest to God, in this day and age, there's a show that was on Fox.
Well,
I mean,
you missed it though. It's actually, if you take a multivitamin, they know who you are. Just so you know.
Okay, well that works.
That's why I wear the metal hats.
But I mean, seriously, my house is so connected. Like, people are like, aren't you scared that Big Brother's watching? No, I'm not, because there's cameras out in the highway that can read your license plates. If you have a driver's license, they can track you. There's microchips in that. You call tinfoil hat people. I don't care what you say. There was a show on Fox, and I forget what it's called, but what they did was they took random people that could win $100,000, and this was a test for the FBI. And what they did was they said they're going to give you 24 hours notice to come and say, now you're on the run. Those people take off. What was it called?
Yeah, I remember
What's it
that
called,
show.
Doug?
I don't remember what it was called, but I remember the premise. Yeah, they had 24
Yeah,
hours.
I do remember that.
They had 24
away,
hours.
and like they couldn't contact family or friends because that would be the first thing to get
Social
flagged.
media. They didn't even have it
Yeah.
with them on their physical body. But the second they logged into their Gmail or their Facebook, that was it. They were toast. And so I don't think, and I'm trying to say this to the people that are a little nervous about the whole arcade 1-up or even AtGames. AtGames right now, arcade 1-up is coming. Don't worry, because they're going to have a login because of the NBA Jam stuff. It's coming. I'm telling you, folks. Don't be scared. You're not into doing things that are illegal, then don't worry about it. It's not a big deal because they can find you anyways. They can hear you anyways. So,
Yep.
Enough of the
and
tech.
being YouTubers, we don't mind them watching. We're YouTubers,
Yeah.
so we're looking.
We-
They could sub for all I care. Come on.
Well,
Bring 'em on.
I think I said that yesterday when you were on with Rexer. I said we always have this. We always get 2 dislikes the second we go live.
Oh, yeah.
And we get 2 dislikes anytime I post a video, it's up there, and I'm like, man, I wish my subscribers were this dedicated that that they would just hit that like button the second the video is up. That these haters, and I don't know what it is, but the haters think that it bothers us, and it's still an engagement for us.
Well, that's the thing. They don't understand. A thumbs down counts the same as a thumbs up in the YouTube algorithm. Like,
Right.
they think they're hurting a video and preventing it.
Nope.
But literally, like, was it like that chick that had that little Friday music video a couple of years ago that was like for the longest time the most thumbs down YouTube video of all time, but it had like 130
went viral.
million views. Yeah, like thumbs down not prevent things from getting exposed. If anything, it helps them. So the ignorant act of hitting a thumbs down because you're jealous of somebody else as a content creator or something like that is just the silliest thing you could possibly do.
Well,
the only thing that's really there for, if you get a bunch of thumbs down in a video, you'll assume people just didn't like the content and you want to make something, a different video.
Sure.
But other than that, it doesn't care. And as a matter of fact, like these guys are saying, bring it on, baby. It's enjoyable.
And
I thank you for bringing your hate. It's great.
That's
hate
it.
is great.
That's so speaking of hate, I'm going to bring some hate for you. So more to prove my point, okay, on the whole Kathleen Kennedy thing before we get into our next subject. Okay. I happened to get a screenshot yesterday from our buddy Rexer over at the Rexer Show. Glenn got off the show, and he got the screenshot of him talking to Kathleen Kennedy. Okay? I don't know, Glenn. Glenn, you need to explain this.
He promised me he stopped recording.
Explain that to me. Explain that to me, because
I have no comment.
This
I have no
stuff,
comment on
this
it
stuff
because
is
it didn't
coming
happen.
up. Okay, all over the place here.
Nope.
So you
I
have
assume
no
it's some-
comment.
Like a defensive mechanism, like kind of like Medusa. You can't look at her directly in the eyes. Turns you to stone. So Glenn put on the glasses as a safety precaution.
It's actually from more of They Live, because she's
There
not
you go.
one of us. She's one of them.
There you go. Well, you're going on a date soon, so I mean, it's good that you see.
Well,
her for
again,
who she is.
if I mean, Star Wars right now ended in basically 82, right? When the Last Jedi happened. That's the last, episode 6 is it. So since she's had it and Disney's had it, they haven't come out with a single Star Wars film. Well, they did come out with Rogue One, which is actually pretty good. I have to give them that. I did enjoy Rogue One.
Mandalorian.
But the sunglasses,
Glenn.
Glenn.
But she has no touch in that. She's not allowed to go near the Mandalorian. That's why it's good. Same with the Clone Wars. She was told, Miss Kennedy, here's the door, flick, and that's why it's good.
I don't know. More and more of these clues are popping up.
Did you hear what she tried doing in the Mandalorian? Do you want to hear what she tried to do, Mr. Doug? Do you want to hear what she tried to do? She tried. The Boba Fett is coming in season 2, right?
Yes.
Did you know that she was going to turn Boba Fett into a woman? He was going to die. He was going to get out of the Sarlacc pit, die, and a woman, I won't say who it was, Sabine. I won't say who it was going to steal Sabine, his uniform.
There's been a recent announcement, and it's looking like Sega is going to drop a console. The question is this console going to be a mini console like they've been doing with the Sega Genesis Mini? Or is it going to be a brand new console that they're going to jump into the war with Xbox, Nintendo, and Sony and actually box? Go ahead, Doug. I know you're chomping at the bit. This is your realm. I'm going to give this one to you to lead us off in this discussion here.
I am an unapologetic Sega fanboy. I always have been and always will be. I honestly have no clue what they're going to do. I'm just like giddy with anticipation and, just the thought of, even if it's a mini, like there's really nothing I can think of that like is going to disappoint me. Like if they come out with a mini console of some variety, I'm all in. Take my money now. If they come out with a brand new console for a new generation to compete with everybody else, even more excitement. That gives me a little worry, just because I know that is probably the most daunting thing they could possibly do. And then like the other thing that's kind of being rumored is people think that they're going to like partner up with Xbox and just kind of like co-brand and co-market together in Japan to help the Xbox get a leg up in Japan, because they've always struggled over there, which I'm okay with as long as it turns into something that allows Sega to revitalize itself, whether it be, send out more mini consoles or develop more first party games solely, in the house with Sega Studios and things like that. Anything Sega, it's fine by me. Just make it happen.
She's like, just make it happen, right?
Seriously, make it happen.
All right. Glenn, I'm going to make you wait a little bit. We're going to get Steve here. We're going to see what Steve, because you're the Turbo. Listen, you and I kind of are on Turbo Graphics side. I like Sega too. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big Sega fan, but Steve, what's your thoughts on this? What do you think's going to happen? Are we getting a mini?
I don't think we're getting a full-on console. I think Sega left that area of business a very long time ago, and they will never go back. That being said, the things that kind of come to my mind, potentially another mini console. The Sega Genesis Mini that they came out with was incredibly successful, especially when you compare it to the sales of the PlayStation Classic. It dummied that, and it's pretty comparable in terms of popularity to the NES and the SNES Classic. That being said, even that, I mean, it'd be a little bit tough for them to put out like a Dreamcast Mini. So, I mean, maybe it could be that. It could be something crazy like Microsoft bought Sega. Now they own all of Sega. Like maybe that's the big announcement. Or it could be something related to some sort of a partnership, like Doug was saying. I don't actually know what it is. I would just put my money down and say it's not going to be a flagship console. I just don't think that that's something Sega is going to jump into. And if they did, as much as I love Sega products, I think they would fall flat really quickly.
All right, Glenn, hit us with some knowledge.
Well, not so much knowledge, just personal opinion. I mean, one of the things they did say in there was it was a shake up the gaming industry, right? So
that's why you got to assume it's a console.
Well, that's why I'm still going. My heart is definitely going to be Dreamcast 2. I mean, it's not going to be like a flagship. It's not going to be like a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox, whatever the hell the new one's called, is going to be. But it will simply be a Dreamcast console that will, compete more on like the level of, say, what the Wii was, where it was never meant to be the tier number one gaming console. They did pretty well. Just a gaming console people can go and play. Again, that Dreamcast even today still holds up so well. So that's what my heart says, right?
Oh yeah, it's a great console. My son likes it too. He loves it.
Right. I don't think it's going to be a mini console. I don't. The Sega Mini was just released, so I don't think they're going to be coming into anything new with that right away. But what Doug and Steve said a second ago does make sense. Maybe it's a partnership. They have had a very good relationship with Microsoft, over the years, all the way back with the Dreamcast. So maybe they did get bought out by Microsoft. I mean, Microsoft sure couldn't hurt bringing in a true game developer, like Sega on board. And Sega it's been struggling ever since, the Dreamcast went out. They've been around. They've been a software publisher, but they've still been struggling. They're holding on, but they're not what they used to be. So maybe being bought up would be good. But on the other side of the coin, for Sega to be bought up by, say, Microsoft would really, I think, take the heart away from what Sega is. A company like that being appropriated by Microsoft. And I'm going to say I actually don't like Microsoft. I don't. I'm not a fan of theirs. I mean, the console is fine, but it's a huge company. It's a monopoly company. They've done shady things in the past, and I'm just not a fan of Microsoft. So I do hope that's not the case. Mm-hmm. But my heart of hearts, I just really wish that would come out with a console, not necessarily a tier 1 PS5 level of a console, but maybe one that would compete with, an Xbox 360 level from Sega, I think would do quite well with their own first-party titles. And people, look at the Intellivision Amico. That's going to come out $10 a game. So if they come out with something like that, I can tell you right now, I'd be all over that in a second. I would love to support Sega in that way. But other than that, man, I hate waiting. Sega. Give us some information.
It's not going to be much longer. Daniel, what do you think? Do you think it's going to be one of those minis? Do you think Glenn is right? It's going to be a Dreamcast 2? What do you think?
I honestly think
Talking to Mike.
honestly think
There you
it's
go.
Atari 2.
That was beautiful. The ultimate troll.
On Facebook from Daniel May, it says, calling it right now, an Android phone packed with Sega Ages titles. It's Sega. Hope for the best, expect the worst, he says.
Well, and I don't know, Doug, does this change your mind, or Steve, or does this change your mind about what Glenn said about if Microsoft buys it? Because I did see rumors about that. I've seen some stories about that as well, that Microsoft is, considering, or that was part of it. Would that, like Glenn said, change the dynamics, Doug?
Yeah, I mean, if they purchase Sega outright, that would completely change the dynamics to where Sega, as a publisher, is exclusive to Microsoft only. I mean, that's going to give Xbox a significant leg up in competition as far as games, especially in the Japanese market. So that would, definitely fit that bill of a game-changing announcement. We're all hoping and dreaming that it's a console, but I think we all have that realistic expectation that it's probably not likely, just given this far into Sega's second life, so to speak, after consoles.
I think, Steve, the thing Glenn's touched on, the monopoly, that's a scary thought, right?
It sure is. I mean, undoubtedly Microsoft is an enormous company, but I don't want to say they're already in bed with Sega, but they've already been in bed with Sega for such a long period of time. There was even the potential at one point when Sega was discussing with Microsoft to develop and actually create the hardware for their next console. So,
right.
And this was after the Sega Dreamcast. So, I mean, it's not completely unlikely that we're going to see some sort of a merger or some sort of partnership between Sega and Microsoft. It's just, what's that going to look like? Is it just going to be maybe exclusivity to remaster some classic games, and they're going to have the exclusive right to launch that on their consoles? Is it going to be an entire purchase out? I mean, there's so much that could potentially happen.
Well, that's an interesting thought too. If they're going to do some kind of classic remake of some sort, are people going to be gun shy? I mean, I know I pre-ordered the Dreamcast when it came out, along with a lot of people. We talked about this previously. I did the magazine thing, like most of you guys. We didn't even get a year out of that, and we got our money back. I mean, I pre-ordered every game that was launch title. I think there was 12 launch titles that came out or something along those lines.
And all of them were great. All great
games. That's why I went broke. Literally, I was still living at home and didn't really have any bills. But then I kind of felt burnt after that. And I even said to my brother, I was like, I am never, ever pre-ordering another game console in my life until I got married. And
TurboGrafx Mini.
Actually, PlayStation 4 was the first one that I did, only because I fell in love with Uncharted. But needless to say, I mean, I got burnt. We talked about getting burnt with Kickstarter. I was burnt with that, right? Like would you guys? We know Doug will, and we know Glenn will get 5 of them. But Steve, are you going to pre-order it if it comes out?
It depends on how they position it. If it's going to be like what Glenn was suggesting, where they're not competing with the PS5 and the new Xbox, then probably not. The big struggle there in terms of entry into market is going to be third-party development. So if they're going to be putting out underpowered hardware when all the big developers are going to be developing for very high-spec hardware, then it's just not going to make it. You're going to have the diehards that'll buy the console and they'll have their first-party titles, but a lot of consoles can't survive on first-party titles, which we saw with the Nintendo Wii U. The reason that it was such a failure is because it was so difficult in order to port games over to it or develop games onto it. So I think that unless they're going to come out with something incredibly powerful and they've got a lot of the licenses ready to go. Obviously, they own a lot of the licenses, but
Right.
if they're able to get a bunch of really good titles, then maybe I would consider that. But if we're looking at something that's underpowered in any way, I would be a hard pass, to be honest.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, I don't want to say it now, but I think I'm going to be one of those guys that is something that I think I would pre-order, only because Sega hasn't created anything in years, right? As far as hardware goes. And my thinking is maybe they do it right. They've been sitting back all these years looking at how everybody else is doing it, right? And maybe they take bits and pieces of what Nintendo's doing and what bits and pieces of what Sony's doing and Xbox is doing, and they wrap it all up into one console. I mean, think about that for a second. They do the cartridges like the Switches, right? But they have the online experience that the Xbox has. But then they have the titles that the PlayStation has. It could be very compelling to somebody. I mean, they're seeing how this is all done. Glenn, what do you think? Is that a possibility?
I was just thinking about it. I'm thinking about the capital Sega has, and
Right.
to actually launch something like you're talking about there, they definitely don't have that. They don't.
But
Unless they did partner with another company, like maybe Microsoft.
Like Microsoft.
But why would Microsoft join them in making a competing console? So
what if the new console from Microsoft is actually the Microsoft Sega X? Now I'm half being facetious, but I'm half being serious.
I think Sega Lord X is already on YouTube. He's got his own channel.
Well,
And if you haven't seen Sega Lord X, he's good, guys. Watch him.
I guess I'm thinking like maybe because we don't know the names of these consoles, right? I think the PlayStation just announced what the 5th or the 6th of June is when they're going to announce. Is that what it is? The 5th? Am I right?
It'll be next week. I don't know the exact date though.
Okay. I saw an email come in a little while ago. I thought it said the 5th, but neither here nor there. I'm sure Microsoft isn't going to be far behind that, right? The actual name of whatever we're getting. We're just saying the new Xbox and the new PlayStation. What if that's part of the big announcement for Microsoft? That it's backing the new Sega hardware, that it's not going to be called Xbox. Wouldn't that throw some people into a tizzy, so to speak?
I don't know if that's a good marketing move for Microsoft. People know Xbox. People expect a certain level of, I guess, quality that's going to come from that. And I think that if they're going to just throw a wrench into it and be like, hey, we're not releasing the Microsoft Xbox product. Now it's the Microsoft Sega product. I think people will just be confused.
I agree. It's not smart marketing, but something's coming. We just don't know what that is and when it's coming. But I will say this. Speaking of speculation, the last topic we got for here today is Arcade 1-Up. Something on the weekend of June, next weekend. The 5th, 6th, 7th, I think there's an IGN event that's going to happen. And Arcade 1-Up is set to launch and announce a revolutionary, game-changing product line or product. And I kind of wanted to, again, this is speculation. We don't normally do speculation. And I know some of these, the last topic and this topic is kind of controversial. It is speculation. Functional furniture. Steve, what do you think? What do you think Arcade 1-Up's going to bring? None of us have any inside information, but it seems like from what we've seen at CES, from what Doug shared and some of the other guys, looks like they're going the route of some functional furniture. What do you think the big release? Do you think we're going to get more cabinets? Do you think that there's going to be something else coming down?
My first inclination would be some sort of a special edition cabinet, and I think it's probably related to their Sega cabinet that's going to be coming up. Just because I think it's some sort of big anniversary. I want to say it's like 60-year anniversary for Sega right now.
Yep.
So that would be my guess. It ties in really nicely. They've already got the licenses for the games. Maybe they could put out this really awesome special edition cabinet, similar to what they would have done with the Marvel cabinet, for example. So that's kind of where I'm leaning. I have absolutely no idea. I really don't think the announcement's going to be anything NBA Jam related. I know people are talking about it, some sort of Michael Jordan potential license agreement that happened where he can be in the game. I don't think that that's something that they're going to promote right now. That would be something I think they would promote like right as it launches to really drive the sales.
Maybe
the signature is signed. You go to the mountaintop and you say, "We've got Michael Jordan."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then everyone comes
well, they had
running,
Clyde.
but...
They had Clyde Drexler at CES, so I think that would be more practical than Michael Jordan at this point, right?
Right.
So, Doug? What do you think? What do you think the big announcement is going to pertain to?
So, a couple thoughts. Like, number one is like they over deliver on something that has quasi been hinted at for a long time. So like everybody wants them to see it. Release a driving cabinet, a dedicated like sit down driving cabinet. So what if they not only release a dedicated driving cabinet, but what if it's something like an actual Daytona USA that can connect to another one or has online matchmaking? Like I think they're probably going to delve more into this whole arcade live and this online world of retro video gaming, because it's an untapped market, so to speak. I mean, there's not a whole lot of things going on for being able to play retro video games online with your friends, doing the leaderboard thing. AtGames is doing it a little bit, but it's still a relatively new space. So I think if they come out in front, have this Xbox Live type of experience for the arcade one-ups, I think that will blow people away.
Yeah. Glenn, what's your thoughts?
Honestly, my thought is it's kind of what Doug just kind of said. What's the one type of, well, there's two kind of cabinets right now that haven't been out. A shooting game with light guns, or a driving cabinet. And I do think that the next logical step for them would be a driving cabinet. And they do have a very good relationship right now with Sega. So Daytona USA maybe, or an older game, maybe Super Monaco GP, Turbo. It's an older classic. I'm kind of hoping it's going to be a driving cabinet, not necessarily sit down. That would probably make the most sense for a sit down style cabinet. That's a hope. That's a hope. I know they're working on all kinds of things behind the scenes, but that's kind of one. If they were to announce, the internet will literally take an SHIT, because I think that's something that everyone would love to see happen.
Now, did you guys happen to see the video this week of the gentleman that made? I think Glenn, you predicted this because he knows where I'm going to go with this. And for the record, Glenn predicted this as soon as the bench was going to be released for the Star Wars, that somebody was going to mod that thing and create a complete enclosure just like the original cabinet using the arcade one-up. And there was a gentleman that did it, I believe, for under $500. That's assuming that you have the
$450. You were saying, yep.
Assuming you have the cabinet. But there's a YouTube video out there. I can see if I can pull it up in a few seconds. But it looked sharp. Like it looked like something that I would love to put in here.
100%, yeah.
I mean, if you could do,
and he gave you all the information on it. You go on his channel.
Yep, I downloaded
all the files to make your own is free. You could do it. It's not like he did it and you could do it your own. He gave you all the data you need to go out and literally make your own with that cabinet.
I thought it was really, really awesome, and I don't have the room for it, but just seeing him sitting there playing it, I was sitting there going, wow, that would look really sharp in here. All the way to the LEDs and everything that he had. If my son sees it, he's going to be like, Dad, you need to do that.
Yeah, I will.
Daniel, what do you think? What do you think Arcade One-Up's going to bring? Because it's going to cost me money anyway you look at it.
I have two guesses. A Sega cabinet and a Atari cabinet.
Okay. What if we're finally going to get that Dragon's Lair cabinet? Because remember, they were on the fence about how they were going to do it, whether it was going to be CD or something. I think, Glenn, you made the suggestion to him about using a video disc or whatever, right?
Yeah, can we talk about that? I don't know. Were we allowed to talk about that? I don't know. I don't want to get in trouble with them.
What, you can't get in trouble for your suggestion? Come on.
Well, that's okay.
They
put me on the spot.
Wait a second. They had a petition that they put out there and said if the community signed it, and they got 2,500 signatures, that they would do a cabinet. So the next phase of that was okay, how are we going to get it good graphics? And you said live on air.
There's a guy. No, it was not. That's the thing. It wasn't live on air.
It was on air.
Off air.
It was on air.
Okay, if you say so. But in any case, they didn't want to do anything. They didn't want to do anything with Raspberry Pi in that way, shape, or form. They didn't think there was any way to do it. And I suggested to them, well, the whole point of Dragon's Lair was the original arcade cabinet had a laser disc, right? So you had a laser disc. It was a big full-size cabinet. You're going 3/4 scale. Go DVD.
Right.
They already have Dragon's Lair DVDs already. So you want to make it even more realistic. You put a DVD player in there. You're playing the DVD of Dragon's Lair in that cabinet. You can't get any more realistic than that. I mean, New Wave Toys is making a small, which I can't wait to get my hands on, Dragon's Lair, and they got a fake toy plastic DVD player in there, or Laserdisc player in there. But how cool would that be to have an arcade one-up Dragon's Lair cabinet that actually runs the DVD of Dragon's Lair? You can't get any more accurate other than the actual Laserdisc, which broke every 5 minutes.
But that's
and it's remastered.
right. But that was the
Right,
reason.
exactly.
That was the reason it was never attempted, because how do you get those types of graphics? I mean, we play it in ROMs and stuff, but like you
Well,
said,
even the ROM issue, like the Daphne emulator, it does a pretty good job, but there's
Right.
still some limitations to what it can do as far as reproducing Space Ace, Dragon's Lair 1 and 2.
so
Right.
so in defense of Arcade 1-Up, they said, well, if we're going to produce this cabinet, they got the signatures. How are we going to do it to give the users the best experience at the price point and product point that we've been able to do? So it'll be interesting. But I did find that video here of this this cabinet. And I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I do want to show you guys this. Basically, how he had it set up, and I mean, this thing is. You can go to the channel on the YouTube. I'm just going to skim through it to try to get to the. He cuts it out of the same type of material that the Arcade 1-Up is. Let me go to.
And he did it in a smart way. He actually got the decals of the arcade.
Yes.
Kind of used them as a guide on how to make everything else.
So here's the finished
But that
product.
just looks sick. That is sick.
I mean, come on. Look at that thing. Wouldn't you like to have that in your home arcade? He is like a kid in a candy store.
Oh, absolutely.
The only thing he's missing, Glenn, is your controller for that.
I'm going to get in contact with him, and I will send him one, because he did such nice work. He deserves the best. So I'm going to get him one.
He
of
had
the yokes.
I like how he did even the plexiglass on top of the arcade, where he actually molded it. Yes, because correct me if I'm wrong. The original was open, right?
No, it was.
No, I think was it. I thought the original did have plexiglass.
Yeah, it's just like that. Like he nailed it as far as attention to detail. He moved the speakers. Like he replicated this to be the most authentic, scaled down version he possibly could. Like there's a lot of corners he could have cut, and he didn't do it. And when I was watching this video, I was like, oh man, you definitely could have saved some time, some effort. But I'm like, no, you went above and beyond trying to make this as authentic as possible.
I mean, what did you say? $450, Glenn? I mean, I know it was under $500.
$450. It was the cabinet. You got to buy the cabinet, obviously. And then it was $450 in additional wood and screws, and that was it. So, and including the decals. I mean, he even got the decals right on eBay. So he got those. And again, on that video, the information. Yeah, I mean, he obviously had friends help him with that. I mean, if I cut that, I'd be like this when I came on the next episode. I'd be like, hey, I lost a couple fingers. But if you do have that ability, it's all right there. And I think that. I mean, the Star Wars with the bench is nice, but the bench should have a back, and then that'd have been easier. But that's just it. That is the bomb. That is the best I've seen yet of people modifying these. I know driving cameras are cool, but that Star Wars sit-down thing is amazing.
I thought it was really cool. I saw that somebody had posted it this week, and I was like, wow, that's got to be one of the most awesome cabinets. The date, if Arcade 1-Up could figure out a way to put it out for $700 or $800 complete like that, people would buy it.
Or an expansion kit.
I'd buy it.
An expansion kit, aftermarket expansion. You buy the regular one, the sit-down bench, whatever. Then you spend another $300-$400 for the cockpit version. That absolutely would sell.
I think
more people get divorced.
Doug would have.
The wires would definitely kick him out.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
See.
The only reason I didn't tackle that type of mod or anything is because I don't have, a CNC cutting tool or anything like that. Like all I've got is a skill saw and a jigsaw. Like I'd have been like Glenn, I'd have been missing fingers and, looking all sorts of nubby because,
listen, there's a reason I don't do that stuff either, because back when I was in a band, I was building the drum risers out of 1x6 wood. And my buddy asked me, the bass player, he does a lot of this stuff. He's like, do you have a circular saw? I'm like, do I have a circular saw? What kind of man do you think I am? Of course I got a circular saw. So I pulled out a circular saw, And he's like, all right, we marked it off, and I start cutting it, and it starts smoking like a banshee down there. And he says, let me see that blade. He goes, well, I see what's wrong with that. And I'm like, what? He goes, you're using a concrete blade to cut wood. So my wife and his wife come downstairs, and they're like, what is going on? And they're like, he's cutting through 6 boards with a concrete blade. I mean, honest to God, it looked like the basement was on fire because it was that thick of smoke. So there's a reason I don't do that stuff. I don't cut wood. I don't do that. Bad news.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat comment said it's called a skill saw.
A skill saw? Well, you need skill to use it. We don't have skill.
Yeah, no skill here. No.
Give me a computer or phone, I'll tear it apart and fix it, but don't give me a saw.
Drama geek. I didn't take shop class, so my only woodworking skills I have is just what I figured out, the hard way, literally.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to bring up real quick too for Steven is, the TurboGrafx 16 Mini's been out, and I know he was talking a few weeks back about possibly getting a little further and hacking it. Has anything more progressed on that?
There's some progression. I mean, the guys that at least I'm communicating with in terms of the hack, they are working on it. They've actually they kind of split up their team, and they've got people working on the TurboGrafx and people working on the Sega Genesis Mini, and then also on the PlayStation Classic. So they've kind of divvied up the work and split them between different developers. But I know that they did run into a couple of snags that they didn't expect that weren't really problems on the Sega Genesis Mini. And if you're not understanding why I'm comparing the two, it's because they more or less use the same CPU. The specs are almost identical with the exception of the internal memory. So,
but they're not the same board? There are different boards between the two of them?
The board itself is different. It's a different shape, and I mean, the components are in different spots. But I mean, in terms of the actual specs that are on that board, they're almost identical.
Gotcha.
Yeah, my TurboGrafx Mini came out of the box when I did the unboxing. After the video was over, I packaged it back up, put it back in the box, and on the shelf it went. I have not even plugged it in and tried to play it yet because I got one of those. Glenn ruined me. He made me get an EverDrive for this thing.
You're done, man.
I'll tell you, my wife, before we got on the show here, my son, who started getting into this Ghostbusters stuff from when I was a kid, the real Ghostbusters, because he saw Doug's video. It's all this all goes back to Doug, okay? I want to state that for the record.
Yeah.
See, he agrees. So, anyways, I've been looking all over. My kid has me going all over the place looking for the Ghostbusters action figures from the classics, right?
You finally got them.
And I found them right before we got on the show here. I found them that they were you could pre-order, okay? Not only that, I'm going to show this too. So this is my son the other day, right? So he wanted the actual Proton pack.
Yes. Oh no.
I don't think I have the video in here. Oh yeah, I do. Right here it is. So he wanted the actual Proton pack that they used in the movie that lights up. He got the PKE meter that Doug had in the video. Again, this is Doug's fault. And the Ghostbusters trap that Doug did the video on. Again, Doug's fault. So this cost me almost $200 this week.
You're welcome.
And he had to have the jump. He had to have the jumpsuit too. Well, you can't do Ghostbusters without the jumpsuit.
And also the ectoplasm goggles and
the
name
goggles
tags.
And the name tags. He had to have the name tags. And
I
the
bet
goggles.
you wish you spent $25 on Fortnite instead. Now, don't you?
But
wait, before we get no, I had to see. My daughter came to me, since you're buying Daniel all this, there's some stuff on Roblox that I'd like to buy.
Yeah.
So that cost me like $50.
Yeah, wouldn't be fair if you didn't.
It's Robux.
Whatever. I don't play it.
But the sad thing about the Proton Pack was it was broken on the top.
It came broken, but they're sending a new one out, so he'll get it tomorrow, and then we'll ship that one back.
With
But Dad saved the day, and I didn't need a circular saw, but I super glued the thing and rewired it back together, and it, as you saw, it lit up. So I didn't do too half bad of a job, and it didn't break yet since he's been playing with it. But so I want to preface this here as we wrap up and go into post show here. I want to preface this that if you have kids, do not subscribe to Doug's channel because he will cost you money. Just saying that for the record here.
No, subscribe to Doug, please.
No, in all seriousness though, it's been pretty cool because like I want to collect. Doug, I know you take everything out of the package. I'm one I keep if I can. Most of the stuff I try to keep it in the package because he'll open it, so that way when he's older, then I can hand him the stuff down that's still in the package.
Then I'll open it.
No, you're not gonna open it.
No.
But we're going to wrap this up and wrap up the recording. We've got Doug again. What's coming up this week for Legends Academy?
So it is the Health and Information Systems check. So if you're curious of how healthy and the functionality of your AtGames Legends Ultimate Arcade cabinet, I'll walk you through all the ins and outs of what that feature does and what the little menus mean, because there's lots of different options and tests that you can run your system through to make sure everything's operating at top-notch capacity. So I'll walk you through that this Sunday.
Okay. All right. And also check out your channel. Check out Doug's channel if you want to go broke. Sit there with your kids and watch it.
Hashtag cancel Cool Toy. He's a bad influence.
No, but he did do. If you're wondering about the Ghostbusters that we're talking about, he did do a video on that for
he got Slimer and the Puff State.
The State Puff Marshmallow Man. So
I had to say it backwards.
I know you did.
He's just puffy.
We're going backwards this time because Glenn will take forever trying to wrap up here because he has 50 million places that you can find him on. But I thoroughly enjoyed you. I want to give a plug out to the Rexer show. I thoroughly enjoyed the show that you guys did yesterday with you and P-Dubs. The time limit, he figured out how to harness you. No. He figured out how to harness you. That's what everybody missed, and that's what I was missing. I'm like, I'm going to have to get in contact to find out where to get one of those countdown timers, and I'm going to put it right here, and I'm going to say, okay, Glenn, go. You got 3 minutes.
I'm surprised you don't get one of those dog tasers for me. The remote control, we can do it from there, just, and I'll stop.
No, but you guys had a good discussion yesterday. I think if you didn't see it, go check out the Rexer show.
You know what's weird about that whole thing? He asked me to be on the show, right? And he wrote this whole big paragraphs of stuff, and being a typical father, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll do it, but I didn't read anything. So he comes back, he goes, really? He says, yes, okay. Then I start reading. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? He goes, Glenn, did you read what I sent? I'm like, well, no, I just saw that. I said, yeah, like any father does when he says, Dad, I'm drinking. Can I have the car keys? I want to go drink with my friends in the middle of the street. Okay. What? It's one of those things.
Well, I'll tell you.
But it was good. It was a very good.
It was a good
episode he did. I like how he did it. It was good.
It was really good. The questions he threw at you, and he has a very different hosting take where he's more like in your face, which I can appreciate that. I think that was really good. So go check it out. Glenn and P-Dubs were on yesterday on the Rexer show. Go check that out. I'm sure he wouldn't mind you guys going and checking that out. But also, Mr. Planamento, are we still on target for your Star Wars control stick for those that have backed it? And
yep. I talked to my partner, and everything's going extremely well. Everything's been tested. I should be getting a couple of my final production samples to review in the next maybe 2 weeks. So we're pretty much still on schedule for July, which is pretty cool considering everything that's happened. We didn't get stopped by that at all. So it looks good.
Cool. It'll be awesome to see it here on the show when you get those samples to show us here. We also want to thank Mr. Kubrasi.
No.
You got it.
Kubrasi.
Oh.
Mr. I got it right. Come on now. What kind of show host do you think I am here? Come on. YouTube.com/Restalgia. I didn't know if you had Restalgia.com, but
I do. It's just not a website yet. I own the domain, but haven't done anything with it yet.
But you guys can go check it out. Steve does a lot with the Legends Ultimate as well as a lot of the mini-cades. And what else do you do?
Lots of stuff. I've got some EverDrive videos coming up. I'm going to take on some projectors as well. Do some videos in terms of like retro gaming on projectors and just pretty much anything gaming related PC builds. I'm starting to do some of those.
And the next time we have Steve on, you may not recognize him. So he's in quarantine mode right now. Okay. So
Yeah.
the picture, the picture that I put out earlier, he made sure to mention to me, like, people aren't going to recognize me. They're going to be like, who is this guy? So
I've still got the dumb look on my face. It's just I've got a mop on my hair.
well, you know,
So-
hey, you got to do what you got to do.
I'm
and
just
it's-
jealous because all you guys got hair. I got nothing.
Well,
I got nothing.
At least
Steve,
you got the beard.
yeah,
I do.
Mhm.
That I do.
Well,
Steve,
It's actually I ended up trimming off about. I think I had an extra 3/4 of an inch hair on my beard. I trimmed it just for this.
well,
so
when you
you're
trim your
welcome.
hair, send it to Glenn. He could use it for a wig, and then
I can. Yep, I'll do it.
It'll be really good.
Or you just buy one of those wigs at Spirit Halloween. And
Oh yeah, he could do that.
Halloween time to
But
get.
next week, guys, want to let you know 9 p.m. is the start time. I know it's going to be a little later. Glenn will be on his date with Kathleen Kennedy, and hopefully we'll hear all about that. And we have our developer
I
friend.
got all my shots.
Yeah,
got
get
all
it
my
ahead of
shots.
time. But those of you that are here live, stick around. We're going to put up the call in. You guys can phone in from a phone. I think Scott Bacharach was in the chat room, somebody was saying. So, Scott,
You know who wasn't? Angel
he-
wasn't here.
well, yeah, I don't know. But stick around. We'll get the phone number up. You can call in phone, and let's have a dialogue here for a little bit of post-show. Guys, we appreciate it. We'll see you next week for more of the Retro Buzz.